and tea. Thank you. Can you make me have hair and 10 pounds thinner? Oh, sorry. All right. All right. So anyway, next week's service is called Glitter Blessings and T-Shirt Theologies, and this service is being recorded. We will be hosting our sibling congregation Prairie Circle here at 10 o'clock. You're invited to bring or wear a T-shirt that reflects your values, beliefs, or commitments, and to bring pride flags, buttons, or colors as we celebrate and honor the last Sunday of Pride Month. And because it's us and Presbyterians and Prairie Circle, parking will be, of course, challenging. We are requesting that you might want to think about carpooling. Just something to think about. All right. Judy Stetner has an announcement, and she will be doing that, I think, online. Are you doing that now? Unmute yourself, please.
I am, and
please go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes.
I am actually in the building. So my name is Judy Stetner. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the co-chair of our membership development team along with Sue McCowan. Today is a special day because everyone that is here today is helping us launch our new Connection initiative. As you came in today, hopefully you were handed one of these connection cards, and I will be posting an online card in the chat after I'm done talking. If you do not have one, just raise your hand if you're in the building, and the ushers will bring you one, and a pen if you need it. And I will put that link to the card after I finish talking. So these cards are designed to help you feel seen, heard, and supported, whether you are visiting here for the first time today or are a long-time member. Everything you share on the card will be reviewed by a small group of volunteers tomorrow who will help connect you with information or care. Fear not, these cards are not replacing our joys and concerns. This is additional. And in addition to the cards, we will be offering connection conversations. Newcomers are especially invited to join us after the service during the coffee hour at a Connections Conversations table where members of our membership development team will facilitate reflection around the question that's on the back of your card and other topics, as well as being listening ears and available to answer your questions. In the coming weeks, we hope to offer this online also. We'll do a breakout room during the online portion. And for the table where we're going to meet towards the back of our fellowship hall, there is a table that does not have a green tablecloth. That is where we are going to meet. If you complete your card before the plate goes around for our offering after the sermon, feel free to place that in the offering plate. Otherwise, there is a painted box on the hymnal cart where you can put the card. And I hope you'll take a moment to fill out the card. This is for everyone. Like I said, whether you're brand new today or you've been coming for a long time. If you have questions or you might want to help out with our connectors team that meets on Mondays, please see me after the service. I will get out from behind this computer by then. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Judy. As you know, we're new here in this neighborhood, and so we're trying to be a good neighbor. And so, of course, people have cars. Welcome to the United States. We drive almost everywhere. So when you are here, please be cognizant of speed limits, not parking in other people's garages or driveways or in front of. Just be, careful of where your car ends up. So if you're making deliveries and such, come close. Go to the back. There's all sorts of alternatives so that we can get along better with our neighbors. When you see them, smile and wave, hi, Unitarian Universalist, or something, Anyway, we welcome back to our service this morning, Dr. Mary Lamb Shelden. Mary is a lifelong second-generation Unitarian Universalist. In addition to being a writer, Mary is a credentialed and commissioned spiritual director. And as of June 1st, congratulations, she is Director of Religious Exploration at Countryside UU Church in Palatine. Let's join together in greetings with our online folks. If you wish, please turn on your camera. We can see you and they can see us, more or less. And we can wave to them. Sharing community wherever we are, including down the hall. All right, thank you, everybody. We hope that visitors will fill out the green card that you were given when you came in, different than the other card. This lets us know that you're a visitor. And online, people can find their visitor card in chat. We invite everyone to join us after service this morning for refreshments and conversation. We're a friendly bunch and welcome a chance to get to know you. We welcome all who have joined us this morning.
Special way to do this clip, I think. I haven't got the knack yet. Good morning. Our call to worship comes to us from Leah Onjiri. Here we are together, each facing our different human tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holders of each other's heartaches and tales of joy alike, weavers of one story in which we have our part. Our chalice lighting comes to us from Sherry Wordberry. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation, as we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life.
Please join in recalling our mission statement. At Tree of Life UUC, we nurture a community that welcomes diversity, supports the spiritual growth of its members, and acts to create a more just society. The sharing of joys and concerns is a sacred moment that helps us grow in community. We invite you to share a few short sentences about your joy or concern. Those here in person are invited to come up at this time and form a line or have a seat in the front here and provide us with your joy or concern. There's a handheld mic here and you can stand here. You do your joy and concern, it's show and tell, hold your joy or concern, and then when you're done, you place it in here. And then we have this new liturgical tradition that started a few weeks ago, where we pour out our love and community and support in the form of water and from this pitcher into all the joys and concerns. So that's the symbolism and liturgical significance of the new way of doing joys and concerns. So people in this in the sanctuary here, please come forward for your joy and concern. There's a handheld mic so that you can the people online can hear you. Please come forward.
Hello, I'm Ron Relic, and I had a very challenging week. Tuesday, I woke up, had high abdominal pain right across here. It wasn't horrible, but it was constant, and I was sick. I was dizzy. I was throwing up. I was just awful. And about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after a nap, I couldn't even handle water. That was water or vitamin water or what. So about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, went to the urgent care. So I got something for the stomach. Was about to go home and just see if I needed to go to the emergency room later. And we had talked earlier, and she said, I said, well, blood pressure. I'm looking at my blood pressure, this and that. And she said, oh, well, blood pressure. Yeah, you got. And she ran it at like 160, which is really high for me. And I was like, oh, 160, that's not good. Oh, she said, that's not bad. I mean, if it gets to 190, okay. So just before we were about to leave, they were closing up, and it's 7:30. Well, I can run, and I'm talking. And she says, well, I can run your blood pressure one more time. I said, oh, great. One in the 190s. And so we went, oh, okay. And I didn't feel that bad, which is all through this. Very bizarre. Go to the emergency room, test after test. We left at 4:45 to go to the urgent care. We get to the hospital at 8 o'clock or something like that. That starts the whole next generation of tests, right? So I think Donna went home at like 12. My wife Donna, 12:15 or something, and then I was still ready for an ultrasound then. They did tell me at the time, the big thing that came up was liver enzymes. Your liver enzymes. Well, your liver enzymes are 400. Normal is 40. You go, what? And I didn't feel horrible. I was feeling, and I was like, and I hadn't eaten. I had barely had like a glass of water and a couple of saltines that evening, right? The whole next day I never ate anything other than intravenous. But anyway, it was just crazy. So we did all that. The following day they did an MRI, and we're waiting for the results. They never heard the results. But all these ideas were out there that this could be a gallstone in the bile duct. Gallstone in the bile duct, okay, it's probably that, but we can't say for sure till we get the results of the MRI. So all to the next day, and he'd explained to me that it could just pass, or we're going to take it out. You could do a GI process. You don't have to have surgery. Okay, great. So I'm thinking, I never hear about the MRI. I'm thinking, well, they're preparing me for something. They're preparing me for a procedure. They're doing the whole thing. They're coming in, they give me the stuff, and all night I'm not eating after midnight, blah, 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 blah. So nobody read the MRI. The MRI didn't come in. It was done at 12:30 in the afternoon, and somebody got it when they were already home at like after 5 o'clock at night. So never communicated that. So the next day I'm looking, there's a surgery consult going, and I'm thinking that I'm going to get the ERCP, they call it, where they go down, and get it out. They can actually get it out. So even my primary care comes in and says, well, you're having this ERCP today. You might be able to go home by 6, blah, 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 blah. Waiting. Nothing happens. The surgeon comes by and he says, well, you're probably going to have your gallbladder out, and then, we'll call my office on Friday, and you should have it out soon, just because there's stones in there. They know there's stones in there. Another one could get lodged and all that. Okay, great. I'm waiting. Nothing comes in. And then nurse comes in and says, I don't know, I just got a call that you're not having this today. And I went, well, what's going on? So they send somebody up from the GI partners that was going to do that. And they go, well, it had already passed on its own. It passed on its own, which is common. I guess it can happen. So it passed on its own, so you're not having that today. Well, then what was all that overnight? The drips at 2 to 6 and all the stuff. And, well, I thought maybe, you were already in the hospital, and maybe you'd get an operation, get your gallbladder out today, and you just get it done. But GI doesn't talk to surgery. Surgery and GI, they're totally separate, So anyway, I just looked at the nurse and I said, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I haven't done anything. I didn't do anything yesterday except have an MRI. Anyway, they sent me home, and I'll get my gallbladder out on Tuesday. And it will be, laparoscopic. You go right home and everything. So I'm sure it's going to be fine. But it was quite a ride, and always trying to figure out all the things that were going on. Anyway, that's about that. I did want to talk a little bit about... This was so funny, because when they were preparing me for this ERCP, and I kept telling my primary care and everything, I go, I don't know, I feel great. I mean, I'm feeling like I'm almost high. I mean, like, I don't know, I feel great, we're having this procedure, but, it's crazy. I guess, yeah, something's in there. And, by then it had passed and I was, I was the next day, I was like higher than a kite. It was crazy. And just from blood pressure coming down and everything, and it was wild. So anyway, I want to talk about the Obama presidential opening, because he gave his speech, and wasn't that beautiful? Yeah, Michelle and everything. Yeah, fantastic. And I recorded later on C-SPAN, but it was funny because WGN like cut off right in the middle. Like Stevie Wonder was just explaining how he met the Obamas, and when they came to and they went cut right to a Saran Wrap commercial, and that was, they went to the regular programming. They just cut it off. But at the end of his speech, my Unitarian ears perked up, because he talked about the what we believe in is the dignity of life, and it was just like the Unitarian. We believe every individual has rights, and every individual is divine, and that kind of thing. He talked like that, and I mean, I literally thought, is he Unitarian or what's going on? But then he also talked about the close of his speech, which is, the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. I don't know if all of you know, but that's from the Unitarian preacher, Theodore Parker. And he's the one who originated that idea. And I didn't know that Obama knew that, because it's was quoted often by Martin Luther King. And, so people think it was Martin Luther King's, but it was really Parker's. So he said that, and then he did the context of Theodore Parker's sermon and explained that this is when, they were abolitionists at that time, and Parker was a big abolitionist. And they were at a point of no hope. They were at a point of like, this is crazy. How is slavery, continuing to go on? And this is, you're talking about 1840s, 50s, it was almost like no hope that was going to be done. But hey, moral arc of the universe, it got done. And he had the phrasing and everything, quoted the whole thing. So I was really excited about that. I just thought, wow, that's great. And I wonder if Obama's a Unitarian at heart, Anyway, thanks. You'll do that. Oh, you do that. I thought we all did. No.
Good morning, I'm Julie Huddle. I use she, her pronouns, and I just want to say how happy I was last night at the summer solstice celebration. And I sent this email out about a week after we moved in here, and I thought, everybody's going to be way too tired to do a solstice service. And within 5 minutes, 2 people were interested in helping out. And so I want to thank everyone who was responsible for making that happen, even in spite of my fumbles. And so I just want to express my joy at that celebration.
Hello, my name is Noah Freeberg. I use any pronouns, and I have a joy to share. My softball season has come to an end. We've worked really hard this season, and yesterday we made it to the championships, and we won first place. We did struggle a bit at the beginning, and I did hit my shoulder from taking a hard fall, but besides that, we managed to power through and win by 1 point.
I'm Sue Reckenthaler. I use she, her pronouns. I have a joy that our Compassion for Campers program has found a new home, at least through the summer. We will be back on our regular days of the first and third Friday at the Mental Health Board in Crystal Lake. So we will be able to now take donations of linen, sheets, towels, pots and pans, and our usual personal care products, clean used sleeping bags and tents, and cold hard cash. So thank you.
Hi, Ivy Sitkoski, she, her pronouns. I have been having a very busy and joyful couple of weeks. My son Keith visited for 8 days, and it was awesome to have him here. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago he was coming. He did help us a lot, but it was also just great to have him. We had a big family meetup in Indiana. We have family in Indiana, so they got to meet my daughter's relatively new husband, so that was amazing. And then my friend Natalie came. You all know who Natalie is because I talk about her all the time. And we ran around like chickens without heads. We were just like all over the place. We went to the Grove in Glenview. We went to 2 plays. We went to the aquarium. We really clocked a lot of steps. I discovered that there's something called Midsummer Fest in Andersonville because one of the plays was in Andersonville. And my first thought was, oh my God, where am I gonna park? Because all these people come. But that worked out. I asked AI what to do. And Midsummer Fest was awesome. I'm glad I got to experience it. And then Ron brought up Obama. Well, so my daughter and her husband live in Bronzeville, and they live like practically right next to Kenwood. So we took this long walk, and guess whose house we walked by? And so I was like, okay, because he was in town, I was like, if I see him, I'm probably going to faint, so someone catch me. You know, it's like, remember rock stars and people were fainting at concerts? I was like, I hope he's in there because this is the closest I'm ever going to get to him. And his house is not a mansion, but it's just a really nice house in a really beautiful neighborhood. And so that was definitely a highlight too. And now I'm looking forward to just settling down a little bit and things calming down a little bit. But just a great 2 weeks. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Till, they, them, and I just wanted to say that the Woodstock Pride Fest was fun with Zayden and Ren and all their friends.
We invite now online participants, if they have a joy or concern, to raise their hand in chat. While we're waiting there, I have a concern. A friend of our congregation is going to undergo some prostate surgery, so I'd like to add our concerns for his healthy recovery. No one online? Okay.
The compassion and trust of our beloved community flows from each of us. Each of our joys and concerns, spoken and unspoken, are embraced in the mutual love and respect of our beloved community. So I wonder, what do you suppose I have in this wonder box today that Reverend Allen has? Any ideas? Just call out an idea. I know you know, so I'm gonna wait for you. Okay, young person in the back, tell us what is in the wonder box. Strawberries. That is the treasure in our treasure box this morning. It's okay. Well, ask your grown-up, but it's okay for you to take a strawberry as Alan passes the box around. I invite you to do so. These strawberries are from the Woodstock Farmers Market. I'm I got them from Mel von Bergen, who brought them from her farm in Hebron. They're not the same as the strawberries that I'm about to talk about in my story, but they're a fair stand-in. Maybe some of you know that there is a full moon coming in about a week on Monday, June 29th. Our service today is about the moon and the lessons that it has to teach us here on Earth. My name is Mary Shelden, she, her. I'm going to be talking about the wrong celestial body today, but happy Litha, happy solstice, happy longest day. I'm going to be talking about the moon today. I think Apollo will understand. Many Native American or First Nations people call the full moon in June the strawberry moon. And today's story comes from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Kimmerer is a mother, scientist, decorated professor of environmental biology, poet and author, and member of the Potawatomi Nation. The story is part of a longer chapter from a much longer book, which I recommend you read in full. This story is about wild strawberries, the kind that you might encounter on any walk you might take, anywhere where they might happen to grow. She tells us, "It was wild strawberries that gave me my sense of the world, my place in it. Behind our house were miles of old hayfields, divided by stone walls, long abandoned from farming but not yet grown up to forest. After the school bus chugged up our hill, I'd throw down my red plaid book bag, change my clothes before my mother could think of a chore, and jump across the creek to go wandering in the goldenrod. Our mental maps had all the landmarks we kids needed: the fort under the sumacs, the rock pile, the river, the big pine with branches so evenly spaced you could climb to the top as if it were a ladder, and the strawberry patches. White petals with a yellow center, like a little wild rose. They dotted the acres of curl grass in May during the flower moon, Wabiguani gisas. We kept good track of them, peeking under the trifoliate leaves to check their progress as we ran through on our way to catch frogs. After the flower finally dropped its petal, a tiny green nub appeared in its place, and as the days got longer and warmer, it swelled to a small white berry. These were sour, but we ate them anyway, impatient for the real thing. You could smell ripe strawberries before you saw them, the fragrance mingling with the smell of sun on damp ground. It was the smell of June, the last day of school, when we were set free, and the strawberry moon, Odemini gisas. I'd lie on my stomach in my favorite patches, watching the berries grow sweeter and bigger under the leaves. Each tiny wild berry was scarcely bigger than a raindrop, dimpled with seeds under the cap of leaves. From their vantage point, I could pick only the reddest of the red, leaving the pink ones for tomorrow. Even now, after more than 50 years of strawberry moons, finding a patch of wild strawberries still touches me with a sensation of surprise, a feeling of unworthiness and gratitude for the generosity and kindness that comes with an unexpected gift, all wrapped in red and green. Really? For me? No, you shouldn't have. After 50 years, they still raise the question of how to respond to their generosity. Sometimes it feels like a silly question with a very simple answer: eat them. But I know that someone else has wondered these very same things. In our creation stories, the origin of strawberries is important. Sky Woman's beautiful daughter, whom she carried in her womb from Sky World, grew on the good green earth, loving and loved by all the other beings. But tragedy befell her when she died giving birth to her twins, Flint and Sapling. Heartbroken, Sky Woman buried her beloved daughter in the earth. Her final gifts, our most revered plants, grew from her body. The strawberry arose from her heart. In Potawatomi, the strawberry is odamin, the heartberry. We recognize them as leaders of the berries, the first to bear fruit. Strawberries first shaped my view of a world full of gifts, simply scattered at your feet. A gift comes to you through no action of your own, free, having moved toward you without your beckoning. It is not a reward. You cannot earn it or call it to you or even deserve it. And yet it appears. Your only role is to be open-eyed and present. Gifts exist in a realm of humility and mystery. As with random acts of kindness, we do not know their source. And that is what Robin Wall Kimmerer has to teach us today about wild strawberries. So when you look up next week and see the full strawberry moon, maybe you'll think of our story today about the earth's gifts that are freely given and about how they might show us how to be generous and kind. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Or Earthrise by Amanda Gorman, dedicated to Al Gore and the Climate Reality Project. On Christmas Eve 1968, astronaut Bill Anders snapped a photo of the Earth as Apollo 8 orbited the moon. Those three guys were surprised to see from their eyes our planet looked like an Earthrise, a blue orb hovering over the moon's gray horizon with deep oceans and silver skies. It was our world's first glance at itself, our first chance to see a shared reality, a declared stance and a commonality, a glimpse into our planet's mirror. And as threats drew nearer and our own urgency became clearer as we realized that we hold nothing dearer than this floating body we all call home. We've known that we're caught in the throes of climatic changes that some say will just go away, while some simply pray to survive another day. For it is the obscure, the oppressed, the poor who, when the disaster is declared done, still suffer more than anyone. Climate change is the greatest single challenge of our time. Of this, you are certainly aware. It's saddening, but I cannot spare you from knowing an inconvenient fact, because it's getting the facts straight that gets us to act and not to wait. So I will tell you this not to scare you, but to prepare you, to dare you to dream a different reality where, despite disparities, we all care to protect this world, this riddled blue marble, this little true marvel. We must the verve and the nerve to see how we can serve our planet. We don't need to be a politician to make it your mission to conserve, to protect, to preserve that one and only home that is ours, to use your unique power to give next generations the planet they deserve. We are demonstrating, creating, advocating. We heed this inconvenient truth because we need to be anything but lenient with the future of our youth. And while this is a training in sustaining the future of our planet, there is no rehearsal. The time is now, because the reversal of harm and the protection of a future so universal should be anything but controversial. So, Earth, pale blue dot, we will fail you not. Just as we chose to go to the moon, we know it's never too soon to choose hope. We choose to do more than cope with climate change. We choose to end it. We refuse to lose. Together we will do this and more, not because it's very easy or nice, but because it is necessary. Because with every dawn we carry the weight of the fate of this celestial body orbiting a star. And as heavy as that weight sounded, it doesn't hold us down, but it keeps us grounded, steady, ready. Because an environmental movement of this size is simply another form of Earthrise. To see it, close your eyes. Visualize all of us as leaders in this room and outside these walls or in these halls. All of us change makers are in the spacecraft, floating like a silver raft in space. And we see the face of our planet anew. We relish the view. We witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do? Open your eyes. Know that the future of this wise planet lies right in sight, right in all of us. Trust this Earth uprising. All of us bring light to exciting solutions never tried before, for it is our hope that implores us at our uncompromising core to keep rising up for an Earth more than fighting for.
I find I'm still a little tender-hearted about this sermon I'm about to give. So if you see me messing with my face like this, you'll know that I'm chasing the tears away. Good morning, dear Tree of Lifers. Happy longest day, happy Litha, happy solstice. For those who don't know me, I'm Mary Shelden. My pronouns are he, she, her, and I'm aware as I stand here this morning that I may be about to broach a topic already familiar to some of you, perhaps more familiar to you than to me. So I hope you'll think of this as an unfolding of my own understanding, and that some part of that unfolding will speak to wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Because I do think that for you yous and all earthlings, it is a deeply spiritual topic. So maybe you took notice, as I did earlier this year, of the story that emerged about the recent moonshot of the Artemis 2 crew. Perhaps you spent some time with them live online as they approached Luna's orbit, listened as they crossed to the seldom traveled far side, and then witnessed their reemergence as they rounded the turn again. Or maybe you missed this story altogether. Or maybe, like me, you caught this trajectory in snippets after each turn of events had passed. Maybe, like me, you didn't really start listening until you caught some of the eloquence, the depth of philosophy, the loving connection shared by the crew members. Maybe, like me, you were surprised by the inspiration you found among our astronauts. I think in seeking to understand the spiritual importance of these lunar events, it might be helpful to ground ourselves in some of the deities that lend their names to this project series. First of all, in thinking about our moon and the lunar mission, we should recall that Luna was a Roman deity known earlier in Greece as Selene, who drove her chariot pulled by two shining white horses across the sky. As her brother Apollo, who retained his Greek name in the Roman pantheon, drove the sun chariot. Apollo and Luna Selene had another sibling, Artemis, Diana in the Roman pantheon. Artemis is a twin to Apollo, also associated with the moon. Together, Artemis, Selene, and Hecate are understood in combination as the triple moon goddess. Artemis, eternally the maiden, represents the waxing crescent. Selene, the mother, personifies the full moon. And Hecate, the crone, rules the moon waning to darkness. Gaia, in Greek legend, known as Terra Mater in the Roman pantheon, was understood as a primordial goddess, preceding the Olympian deities like Apollo, Artemis, Selene, Hecate. Gaia and Terra both inform much of our earth-centered vocabulary, like in the way we refer to our once conjoined supercontinent as Pangaea, or in the way we refer to solid ground as terra firma. If it feels to you like our Western space travel is linguistically rooted in paying tribute to the old gods, I would say your suspicions have merit. And maybe the old gods were listening back in 1968 when the Apollo 8 spaceship first made its trek around our moon. I was 4 years old then, a very young UU whose parents were members of Countryside Church in Palatine, which I now serve. Yes, I attended, though I confess what I remember most about church were the donuts that followed. And no, I do not recall anything about the moonshot that year. What I have the vaguest memory of, though, along with an old black and white photo, is our Christmas tree, what would have been that same year. I'm sure we'd had Christmas trees before, but this was the first one I remember. We were in a newly purchased house, and my parents had gone to the lot to get a tree and had bought some very inexpensive ornaments, balls and bells of gold and red satin, along with long garlands of silver tinsel. And the lights, oh, the lights were very much impressive. In the photo, I wore the tights and turtleneck over which I would have worn my jumper for Christmas Eve service. And I knelt before that tree and folded my hands in prayer like a proper pagan. I don't think it was worship so much as wonder and gratitude, like a gratitude in my heart. But that was what was happening back on terra firma for our little family on that very same Christmas Eve that Borman and Lowell and Anders were making their journey around the far side. Maybe our family and theirs were praying together that night in a not so different way as our modern day chariot crossed the sky. It was on that Christmas Eve that Will Anders, our Apollo 8 astronaut, caught on camera an image that changed how these astronauts and ultimately how our entire planet saw the world. In an interview with The Atlantic about the experience many years later, Commander Frank Borman said, "What they should have sent was poets, because I don't think we captured in its entirety the grandeur of what we saw." In the same Atlantic documentary, Jim Lovell said of the view of Earth from space, "You don't see cities, you don't see boundaries, you don't see countries, you don't see people. It looks like the place is uninhabited." The astronauts and NASA had all lived on the Earth, Lovell explained, so it was familiar. There was no thought of photographing Earth from space, no instruction or even anticipation of it. Lovell said they wanted photographs of something unusual, close-ups of the far side of the moon, and the Earth was strictly secondary. So the photographer, Will Anders, set about the task of photographing the moon. He said later, "I started out taking pictures of the moon according to my photographic flight plan. No matter how closely you looked, it was crater upon crater." Said Lovell, "Space is black, ink black, velvet black. There is no color to space, just as there is no color to the moon. The moon is all shades of gray." Anders explained, the fact that the moon was so ugly and stark, that amplified the beauty of the Earth. In trying to capture it in words for the Atlantic interview just 7 years ago now, Borman said, "It's only when you get into deeper space that you experience the total immersion in the heavens. The Earth was the only thing in the entire universe, all this inky black void, and Earth was there with a beautiful blue hue to it, the blue marble, a blue agate. We were looking at a portion of the moon that human eyes had never seen before. The moon might have been what the Earth looked like before life, like we were back at the beginning. I can remember feeling that way. It was a poignant moment. We'd been spending all these revolutions looking at the moon. Then as we come around this uninviting place, we look up and there's the Earth. At 240,000 miles away, it was small enough you could cover it with your thumbnail. And everything we held dear, our families, our country, was back on that blue planet. And that was this sense of how in the world could this little ball exist, in this vast universe of nothing. We had never had a discussion of taking an Earthrise picture before the flight or during the flight. And yet, when we came over the moon on this flight, we looked up and there was this beautiful blue ball. It struck us all immediately. Get that picture. This is the best picture we've got of the whole flight. I think all three of us had an emotional reaction to seeing the Earth. In that moment, Anders said, "Oh, that's pretty. Hand me a roll of color, quick." And Lovell said, "Oh, that's a beautiful shot." In the Atlantic interview, Borman explained, it was a very, very sobering look to see this little blue marble in the middle of that darkness, and you realize how lonely we really are on this wonderful Earth. I think it gave people hope and transcended national boundaries. Of course, things got back to normal rapidly, but at least for an instant in the history, I believe that people looked upon themselves as citizens of the Earth. And Anders agreed. We were all awestruck by the difference, by the beauty of the Earth and its color with the blackness of space. And when I looked at the Earth on the way back and had time to be a little more contemplative, it underscored and got me thinking really for the first time how we're just a small piece of an almost infinite universe. When people had time to really contemplate that and let it sink in, that's what made the Earthrise picture one that was considered such a valuable picture for the 20th century. Said Lovell of the photo that it was almost like the fourth astronaut in the way that it went everywhere, representing the Apollo mission. The Earthrise image that Anders captured did have an important impact back on the home planet. The photograph was given as a gift to President Lyndon Baines Johnson and then distributed liberally about the planet. It occupied the cover of the 1969 Whole Earth catalog. It found its way to the 1969 U.S. postage stamp inscribed with words from Genesis, "In the beginning, God." The most recent Earth Day this past April was the 56th annual Earth Day, established just over a year following the capture of our home planet as viewed from space. In Life magazine's 2003 book, 100 Photographs That Changed the World, wilderness photographer Galen Rowell called Earthrise the most influential environmental photograph ever taken, as it helped Earthlings to, in Lovell's words, see Earth as it really truly is, that we were really here on Earth, a spacecraft, that we're all astronauts, whether we liked it or not. Or in Anders's words, Earth is small, delicate, and not the center of the universe. There's a term of art for this documented shift in consciousness that happens with moon travelers viewing our home planet. Researchers call it the overview effect. It can happen to the earthbound too, in taking in sights of literal vastness like the Grand Canyon, or in contemplating the ideas of abstract vastness like infinity. But the shift is said to happen predictably among space travelers now that we have a sufficient number of those to study, especially from the depth of a lunar perspective. Characteristics are overwhelming emotion, a sense of being awestruck, a sudden perception of beauty, a feeling of appreciation, a feeling of smallness of the viewer of the planet in comparison with the vastness of the cosmos. For astronauts, being struck by perception of the thinness of the atmosphere and a sense of the planet as small, beautiful, fragile. These qualities were readily observable to me in viewing posts from the Artemis crew during their recent flight and upon their return. Though I didn't know yet the term, it was something I myself had experienced, this overview effect, initially at the age of 10, in staying the night at Governor Dodge State Park in Wisconsin with a friend and her family, and being awakened by her dad, who took the group out to a meadow where we could see the night sky and the vastness of the Milky Way. It is a feeling I have carried always with me since that night, that perhaps being 4 years old when Earthrise was first captured and disseminated, and perhaps also being raised as a free-spirited UU, I was somehow culturally more prepared for. So I recognized it in the Artemis astronauts this past spring, even though I didn't yet have that term for it. And it occurs to me that they likely also recognized it in themselves. Consider the words of mission specialist Christine Cook on experiencing the light of the earth. In case you're wondering, the light you see on my face is earthshine. And that's the beautiful earth in the window. Or the words of Commander Reed Wiseman, commenting as he filmed the Earth set they experienced as their ship moved towards the moon's far side, saying, "Only one chance in this lifetime, like watching sunset on the beach from the most foreign seat in the cosmos." Or consider the words of pilot Victor Glover as they reached that lunar edge. And so as we prepare to go out of radio communication, we're still going to feel your love from Earth. And to all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon. Perhaps most famously now, once back on Earth, Cook shared her definition of a crew. She said, "A crew is people, a group, that is in it together all the time, no matter what, that is stroking together every minute with the same purpose, that is willing to sacrifice silently for one another, that gives grace, that holds accountable. A crew has the same cares and the same needs, and a crew is inescapably, beautifully, dutifully linked." So when we saw Tiny Earth, people asked our crew what impressions we had. And honestly, what struck me wasn't just Earth. It was all the blackness all around it. Earth was just this lifeboat hanging undisturbingly in the universe. I may not have learned, I know I haven't learned everything that this journey has yet to teach me, but there's one new thing I know, and that is, planet Earth, you are a crew. When asked after his return about the perspective from space, mission specialist Jeremy Hansen said, I did have this sense when I was in deep space looking back at the planet that I was very insignificant, but the fact that I was there, that a human being was there experiencing it, made me feel very powerful because of the collective unity that it took to push 4 humans there. We didn't do that, the 4 of us. It was this huge team, this extraordinary team that did that. When asked about his re-encounter after splashdown, when the hatch first opened, Hansen said, "We got the connection to humanity again. I think that's what we felt. It had been just the 4 of us, and we'd been talking to Earth, but we knew we were away. And now, all of a sudden, there were human beings, and we were seeing them. And that was, I don't know, we all cheered. We were literally like, yeah, it was great to see them." And when given the chance to sum up the experience, Hansen chose to speak not on the science, but on what he termed 3 of the human experiences for us. He spoke of gratitude, joy, and love, saying what you saw was a group of people who love contributing, having a meaningful contribution and extracting joy out of that. And what we've been hearing is that was something special for you to witness. And I would suggest to you, when you look up here, you're not looking at us. We are a mirror reflecting you. And if you like what you see, then just look a little deeper. It is you. Speaking toward the end of his life in 2019, James Lovell expressed what might be called regret, saying, "It makes me feel a little disappointed. We did something that ended up showing the Earth and its people that just as we were in the spacecraft having to work closely to accomplish something together, to accomplish the mission, down here we seem not to be able to do that." Lovell passed in August of 2025, and it saddens my heart that he didn't live to see this Artemis crew embracing and lifting up the Apollo legacy. He was then the last of them. Borman died in 2023 and Anders in 2024. But I hope maybe they had a sense that even if it didn't change everything, it had had a transformative effect on a growing number of people on the planet. Indeed, as many former astronauts begin to engage in environmental and philanthropic causes in their retirement, maybe they begin to see how that impact might accumulate. I hope so. 50 years after taking the photo, William Anders observed, "We set out to explore the moon and instead discovered the Earth." In her 1976 song, "Refuge of the Roads," Joni Mitchell sings, "In a highway service station over the month of June was a photograph of the Earth taken coming back from the moon. And you couldn't see a city on that marbled bowling ball, or a forest, or a highway, or me here, least of all." But in an oral history for NASA, Will Anders describes the Earth as a Christmas tree ornament, very fragile, and seemingly of a physical insignificance. And yet it was our home. And it occurs to me, perhaps, at the very moment that he captured that beautiful image of our precious, one and only fragile home, I knelt there on Earth before a Christmas tree of ornaments, unseen, but waiting on, preparing for that moment when I could come to understand what he then knew, and what so many others have since then come to know. That we are tiny in the vastness of the universe, that we are inescapably, beautifully, dutifully bound together, that we can silently sacrifice for one another, give grace, and hold accountable, and that as planet Earth, we are a crew.
We have run out of time. The Presbyterians are awaiting the fellowship time. So we're going to collapse the ending of our service here this morning so that we can accommodate both the fellowship time and get everything done in a good way. So our offering is taking place. There will be offering plates over there. If you're new to Tree of Life, please let this offering opportunity pass you by. Your presence here is your gift to us. What we will do next then is extinguish our chalice and say our usual words, and then Mary will give us our final blessing, and then we will go. So The next thing is then the extinguishing the chalice. Do we have the words for that? All right. We extinguish this flame of communal worship and now carry its light within us. Share this light, we carry this warmth to all whom we meet. And Mary?
May all the gods and goddesses, named and beyond all naming, who may be our very own selves, bless this fragile, good earth, blue and green, and keep it safe. May we learn from each other by and by so that we may flourish together. Mitake, ya, uyasin, salam, and shalom, ashe, and amen. Blessed be.
Service. We are going to have an opportunity to create a fellowship space for everyone here. We're going to collapse those walls over that way. There are 2 tables over there that need to be wheeled out and placed here. Leah and Mike will be directing you in those activities. Thank you all.